Hey folks, if people could take a seat, it'll help us know if we need more chairs. It's an excellent turnout tonight. There's seats over here, there's some over here and up in front. If you could sit down, then our organizers in the back will know whether they need to fill out chairs to make sure everybody gets a seat tonight. So as people find their seats, I want to welcome everyone to this, what I think should be a very exciting event. It's a very cold evening, and I want to thank everybody who braved the elements. I just talked to one person here who said he walked 16 blocks to be here tonight. So I think that speaks to the kind of energy and enthusiasm that this fight for $15 an hour minimum wage, 15 in a union, is generating across the country. So welcome to this 15 Now rally and fundraiser with Seattle City Council member Kshama Sawant. My name is Ty Moore. In September, I took on the job of 15 Now's national organizer. 15 Now was born just over 1 year ago. And despite our youthfulness, I'm really proud to say that we have developed a formidable set of campaigns in a whole number of cities across the country. Just to highlight a few to give people a sense of the breadth of what 15 Now is doing. In Philadelphia, we built a broad-based support for $15 an hour in labor, faith, and community organizations. And just last month on Martin Luther King Day, we, along with a number of other community organizations, labor organizations, faith organizations, helped organize a 7,000-strong rally and march demanding police accountability and a $15 an hour minimum wage, which helped unite the Black Lives Matter movement, the black church leaders, labor, and the growing movement of low-wage workers for 15 into a common struggle.
All right.
In the state of Oregon, through grassroots pressure, 15 Now helped push and convince the AFL-CIO, SEIU, and most of the other labor unions to shift their support from a $12.50 minimum wage statewide to $15 an hour minimum wage statewide. And just last month we had a rally of several hundred labor and community activists that 15 Now led to have several senators introduce legislation at the state level, both to repeal the preemption law, which bans Portland and other cities from raising the minimum wage independent of the state level, and introduce legislation for a $15 minimum wage in the state of Portland. The state of Oregon. And in Portland, we're soon to announce a victory where the city council will raise up all contract workers and all full-time city employees to a $15 minimum. In Boston, we put a non-binding ballot referendum on the ballot in West Roxbury District, won overwhelming support. And now 15 Now student and campus-based student leaders and campus workers at Northeastern are leading a struggle in coalition with SEIU and other forces to push their administration to bring a $15 an hour minimum wage to all campus workers. And this idea of campus campaigns is beginning to spread across the country. And here in Minneapolis, of course, 15 Now initiated a campaign amongst airport workers and have gotten over 2,000 petitions signed of low-wage, predominantly low-wage airport workers demanding a $15 an hour minimum wage at MSP. Many people in this room were present at, we had a series of demonstrations leading up to this, but on December 5th, over 200 workers, community allies, labor allies, demonstrated and temporarily shut down the entrance to the MSP airport, demanding a $15 minimum wage, demanding union rights and AirServe and Delta, and it got excellent media attention and helped really boost the credibility and the demand for 15 regionally. And I think it's out of that discussion and fast food strikes, etc., that we're now opening a real dialogue about moving this campaign into the city of Minneapolis. And of course, in Seattle, where Kshama Sawant and 15 Now initiated and played the central role winning a $15 minimum wage. It helped open a whole national debate on the question. We've seen San Francisco pass 15 in November of this year. And now these victories have raised up working people's confidence. In Los Angeles, in New York City, and a whole host of other cities, the debate is alive. Big campaigns are moving to try and raise up working class living standards. And I think the most exciting thing, and I don't think this would have been true even 6 months ago, much less a year ago, the most recent national poll showed that 63% of the country supports raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. So we're very lucky tonight to have Kshama Sawant, the woman who initiated 15 in Seattle and helped lead the movement to victory. And in some ways the timing couldn't be better. It's coming just as a discussion on the question of $15 minimum wage is being widely discussed here in Minneapolis amongst the labor movement and community organizations and certainly in City Hall. There will be many debates, many objections, lots of fear-mongering by big business and their political representatives. We've seen that every time they wanted to raise the minimum wage anywhere and pretty much any time in the history of the U.S. and I think internationally. But to push this fight forward, we can and will answer all the fear-mongering, all the policy concerns, all the genuine questions coming from working people who are worried, is this going to hurt jobs, is this going to hurt investment, etc. I think there are solid answers, and studies have come out again and again to provide clear answers to show that this does make policy sense, it makes sense for working people, it makes sense for our economy. But I think stepping back, the main question, the starting point, we should be absolutely clear about. We live in a very rich country, in a very rich state, and in a very rich city. We have the highest number of Fortune 500 companies per capita in our state, of any state across the country. We can't afford to end poverty in this city. We can't afford to end the outrageous racial disparities in this city. We can't afford to end the gender disparities and pay gaps. And we can meet the basic needs of everyone.
That's right.
The question is, can we build a powerful enough social movement, a grassroots power, strong enough self-organization of working people in this city to compel the business community, the political establishment, to put the needs of working people above the needs of big business and their profit-driven demands? That's the main question that we have to address. We need to build a movement from below, led up by working class people and their organizations. But also we need established community leaders, labor leaders, and crucially city council members to stand up firmly for $15 an hour, for the demands emanating out of the struggles, out of the strikes, out of the movements of low-wage workers. We need city leaders to play the kind of role that I think we're going to hear tonight from Kshama Sawant, of standing up, to use their access to the media, to use their access to the centers of political power, to stand steadfastly in the interests of working class people, to help rally people into action, to help answer all the fear-mongering lies that the Chamber of Commerce, the National Restaurant Association, and others will be churning out. So I think we have an exciting evening before us. It's quite exciting. I think the crowd here is quite politically diverse, really. Kshama is in town over this weekend because Socialist Alternative, which is the political organization she ran on, I'm also part of, we're having our national committee meeting. So we have 40 or odd of the leading socialist activists from across the country coming to meet and discuss and map out our way forward. I also want to offer a special welcome to a number of the city council members and city staffers who are here with us this evening, both speaking and in the audience, who I think are going to be an important part of this discussion, obviously, moving forward. And to all the labor leaders, organizers who are out here, who have been engaged in this debate and discussion inside your own organizations sometimes. And I especially, of course, want to welcome all the working people, all the community activists, and others who I think need to be the backbone of this movement starting here tonight. So just to outline the program, first we'll hear from several workplace and community leaders who are fighting for a $15 an hour minimum wage and union rights. Second, we'll hear from two of our city council members who have joined us this evening and who publicly come out in favor of raising the minimum wage. And third, we'll hear from Kshama Sawant, Seattle City Council member who helped lead the fight. And finally, we'll let you know about some ways you can help build this movement. Tonight, we have an excellent crowd here. We're not going to have a lot of chance for back and forth discussion, but there will be a meeting. We'll be announcing it a couple times in 2 weeks at NOC, where everybody who wants to get active in this movement will be invited to join us. So with no further ado, I want to begin by introducing Mike Griffin. Oh, there you are. Who's an organizer of
Hey, what up, Minneapolis? So I am Mike Griffin. I'm the field director over at NOC. We're going to try to pump some energy in a room today, all right? Call and response. I'm going to say, who are you? You scream out, powerful people. Then I'm going to say, who's willing to fight to make Minneapolis better? You scream out, we will. Who are you?
Powerful people!
Who wants to fight and make Minneapolis better?
We will!
I said, who are you, folks?
Powerful people!
Who wants to fight and make Minneapolis better?
We will!
Who are you?
Powerful
Who wants to
people!
fight and make Minneapolis better?
We do!
I am Mike Griffin, the field director with Neighborhoods Organizing for Change. And that chant was started at our kickoff meeting that we had at the beginning of January, where we wanted to lay out what our organizing principles were going to be throughout 2015. Because we know that in Minneapolis, we have one of the biggest racial equity gaps in the entire country. One of the biggest. So at NOC, a member-led neighborhood organization that's on the north side, we had a promise that we wanted to fight for 4 main things called our Workers' Rights Bill of Rights. 4 main topics. I'm going to take you through each of them. 1, far too often in our city, workers have to make an impossible choice between taking care of their child and earning a paycheck. They have to make an impossible choice of safe time for themselves or making their boss upset and being disciplined. Right? In the state of Minnesota, the people who have to make that case, have to make that impossible choice, oftentimes look like me. 50% of the African American workers in this state do not have earned sick and safe time. 50% African Americans do not have earned sick and safe time. It's even worse with my Latino brothers and sisters, where it's 60% do not have earned sick and safe time. It is time for us to change that in this state. Earned sick and safe time. This is a racial equity issue. 50% African Americans, 60% my Latino brothers and sisters. That starts here in Minneapolis. We call on the city council to pass this year. This is what racial equity needs to be. 2, who are you?
Powerful people!
Who wants to fight and make Minneapolis better?
We do!
Number 2, so NOC's office is over at 911 West Broadway. Across the street, there's a chain of fast food restaurants, Burger King and McDonald's, etc., etc. Now, some of those workers work till midnight, right? And have to be back up and have to work to open up the restaurant at 5:30 in the morning. That ain't right. We're trying to fight for fair scheduling in Minneapolis. This will be first in the nation. Fair scheduling in Minneapolis. Make some noise if you support fair scheduling for workers. We call on the city council to pass this year. Who are you? Who wants to fight, make Minneapolis better?
We do!
All right, number 3, this one's simple. It's called wage theft. We want to make sure that workers have the ability to make sure that their employer are not taking funds away from them. Very simple.
That's right.
4th, last but not least, our members felt very passionate that it was time for us to stop fighting for a minimum wage, that we need to start reaching for a living wage. I'm saying that. For a minimum wage, it is time for us to start reaching for a living wage. Yeah. And what that means to me is racial equity. There was a young African-American woman who is a mother of 2, who often complained about that the minimum wage increase that the state government did last year was gave her the ability to get bus fare. Didn't do anything for her to have a standard of living that would be responsible in the city that I love. It is time for us to pass a living wage in Minneapolis. We call on the city council to do that this year before the end of 2015. Who are you? Who wants to fight and make Minneapolis better? We do. We're going to have a lot of opposition out there. A lot of opposition. Ty mentioned it. We got the chamber of not only Minnesota, but also Minneapolis, right? There's also my progressive friends out there who think that our sights are set too high. They think that we're biting off more than we can chew. They think that we don't know our opposition. Treat this like a candidate campaign. Listen to the stories that we hear today. And when the opposition ticks up, make some phone calls with me. Knock on the door with me. Do not quit. Do not stop. We keep on going. We're going to get this done. We're going to make history. We are going to fix workers' rights right here in Minneapolis. And that starts with you. I need your help. That is February 28th, 2 o'clock, knock office. We're going to break you into wards, right? We're going to break you into wards. We're going to start a grassroots campaign where we're going to knock on doors. We're going to make phone calls. We're going to take this message to every part of the city. Thank you so much, Ty, for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Next, I want to invite to the stage Guillermo Lindsay. Guillermo is a leader of Satool. He's a McDonald's worker right up on Hennepin. You may have seen him when you go in for your Happy Meal or whatever. And he has been a leader in the fight of fast food workers for $15 and a union. Led the strike movement that has come to Minneapolis as it spread across the country. So please give a warm, warm welcome to Guillermo.
Testing.
You're good.
It's working? Good evening, everybody. Good evening. How are you? Good. Is it cold outside?
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you once again. My name is Guillermo Lindsay. I'm a fast food worker. I'm an organizer for Satool. Also the newest member of NOC committee.
National Organizing Committee.
What she said. And last but not least, I'm also a family member. So, the question is, what I'm asking you is, why $15 an hour? Why? I'll tell you why. I'm tired of leaving out of my house wondering if I come home and my electricity is off. Or coming home the next morning, getting off work, and I find my belongings outside on the curb with a vacant sign. Is that right? Is that cool? No. Yeah. What she said again. Fast food workers across the United States are dealing with the same situation I'm dealing with leaving home each day, each morning. CEOs and corporations of big McDonald's, such as Burger King, make $9,000 a year.
An hour.
An hour.
Yeah. Compared to what we make and desire to make in a year. Is that good? No. I didn't think so. My taxes last year, it's kind of crazy. Anyway. Make the money each year, but coming out of their accounts, they should pay us more, coming out of their pockets more to pay us. Living in a poverty wage is not right. Each day I go to work 40 hours plus. I work over the limit of 40 hours. I work maybe 55 hours a week. With one day off. And with that, I get one day off a week, work very hard, and I still don't get no recognition for my work. A couple months ago, I went to work sick, ill, throwing up everywhere, and etc. Unfortunately, I went in, but I was debating whether I should go in or not. I was debating whether I should go to the hospital and get antibiotics, or go to work and clock in for 10 hours, and feel miserable afterwards. Antibiotics, clocking in. No call, no show, get better soon. Instead, I chose to go to work, feeling like crap. With that being said, we don't get no paid sick days off, no vacation, nothing.
Dang right.
It's not right. I work too hard, you know, to get where I'm at, and once again, I get no recognition. So, in closing, my brothers and sisters across the United States are behind me in this fight for $15 an hour.
Right.
2/3 of the world country are waiting for us to achieve our goal,
Yeah.
to achieve $15 an hour. Once we achieve that, they'll do the same thing for us. Just like Denmark. Denmark won their union. They're making right now $20 an hour, while the United States are making $7.25 to $8. That's not right.
Ain't right.
As Ty said, we are one of the richest countries, one of the wealthiest states. Why are we living the struggle? Why we're struggling? We're one of the richest states, one of the richest countries. Is that right? I didn't think so. So, in closing, I like to say, all of us, we need to come together as one and beat fast food nation's ass.
I'm sure all of you know, it was the fast food workers who first put the idea of 15 in a union into the popular discourse in this country. So I think this movement, really, we have to say, began with the struggles of people like Guillermo, who are standing up and fighting for their rights, and through that, really lifting all of us up in the discussion of how can we fight for all of our interests in this country. Next, I want to introduce Kip Hedges. Kip Hedges was a ramp worker, a baggage handler at Delta, in the airline industry for 26 years, until quite recently he was fired. For what? For speaking up in favor of a $15 an hour minimum wage at the airport on a video posted on the 15 Now website. Now, he's been a leading fighter for 15 and for a union at Delta for a long time, and I think ask all of you to give him a warm welcome.
Well, one thing's for sure, when you go to the gates of power will kick back. There's no question about that. I got a letter here yesterday from Delta. It was quite a surprise to me. They upheld my termination. I just want to read you a couple of lines from that letter, because you'll get a kick out of it. Anybody who wants the full text, come and see me. One thing's clear, they're trying to portray me as a bad worker, as a bad employee, and they're going to have a tough time with that, because right after I got the letter, I called up my crew chiefs, my leads for the last 5 or 6 years, and said, will you support me in court with affidavits, etc. And they all, to a person, said absolutely, Delta's not going to get away. It says, based on our review, we are satisfied that the termination of your employment was appropriate. As a result, your appeal has been denied. Guilty, just like we thought you was. No. Well, this denial was not the outcome you may have desired, although, you know, they kind of messed up, because now they have given me way more time to do exactly what they fired me for. It says, let me assure you that full consideration was given to your appeal and the information you presented. An appeal to a termination is the final step in our process. Therefore, we consider this matter closed. We wish you the best in the future. You really can't make this stuff up. But it's actually a good thing, because now, this in hand, we've exhausted the internal process of Delta, and now, with the help of the Machinists Union, who's hired me, one of the best employment lawyers in the state of Minnesota, we can go and fight this in federal court. And we will, the Machinists Union's already assigned somebody to help organize a press conference where we will have certainly people like Keith Ellison. Hopefully some of city councilors would like to show up at that as well. And all of you will be invited as well. It'll be a gala affair.
I'll be there.
But that's not actually the main thing I want to talk to you about. What I want to talk to you about is a couple of things. The first thing is that the fight that we're involved in is actually moving at warp speed, if you think about it. But social movements usually do. Ty talked about the fast food workers' strikes, and I just found out from one of the organizers that was, just so there's accuracy, November of 2012 was in New York and Chicago and some other cities involved in fast food strikes. You think about the audacity of the fast food workers to think that the value of their labor would be a living wage. That's outrageous. But it also shows you who's driving this thing. That people who are finally saying, you know what, I can't work 3 jobs. I thought maybe at first I could get by with 1 job if I just worked a bunch of overtime. That didn't work, so I got to get a second job. And in a lot of cases now it's a 3rd job. Never see my children. I have no life, no time. I got to do something. That's what's driving this right now. And I see it with my coworkers who throw bags, or I should say gently place bags at the airport. And then they work 8 hours, they go and fuel planes for 8 hours, and then on the weekends they might have jobs at the airport as well, being wheelchair pushers or working in a restaurant or whatever it may take. And they just can't take it anymore. And that's what's driving this across the board. It's the same thing. I was just talking to somebody who was involved in the kind of the opening, really the opening guns of this fight in terms of actually making a concrete change at SeaTac Airport, where they passed an ordinance to have a $15 an hour minimum wage for all airport and airline workers at the SeaTac Airport. And that was pushed by outsourced baggage handlers, ticket counter people, wheelchair pushers, etc., who just couldn't take it anymore. And then it spread to Seattle. And then it spread here, and it got its start, realistically, in a break room of baggage handlers at Delta Airlines, where some of them said, we can't take it anymore, what can we do? And that's where the fight at the airport really began. It was driven from the bottom up. And that, if we look at it that way, then we will succeed. If we look at it any other way, like inside game or relying on the powers that be to get this achieved, ain't going to happen. The lesson for me is that when workers stick together, and realistically the value of your labor is determined by how much all of us stick together. That's really it. That we can make gains. At the airport we don't have 15 yet, but we do have sick days. We won sick days at the airport. And that was the result of big demonstrations, going to the MAC Commission meetings, just pouring it on in terms of mass pressure. We also have 2 workers that have just been appointed to the MAC Commission, an Air Serv worker and a Delta flight attendant, both union leaders. That's going to change the balance of forces. So, realistically, what I want to do is, I want to invite everybody here into a transformational struggle, because that's what this is. Just like the 8-hour day. That was all about transforming the value of our labor. You know, they didn't say, we want to work an 8-hour day and make a whole lot less. They said, we want to work an 8-hour day and make a living wage. That's what they said 100 years ago. And that's what we're saying now. 15 now is a transformational demand that will change this country. There's no question about that. We want low-wage workers to join and lead this fight. We want... union activists to join this fight and help transform the labor movement. Because for a long time, a lot of people have looked at the labor movement as a club. And we got to change that, because that's not what the labor movement is. It's a mass movement of working class people. We want young people who want to change the world to be part of this, because that's exactly what you will be doing if you become involved in this, is changing the world. Who are looking to be part of the biggest moral struggle of our time, to be part of this. Because in the past, churches have played that role. Religious and spiritual movements have played that role. We want teachers who are tired of having families that never get together, where the parents are always working, and then the teachers get to deal with the consequences of an unequal system, and then they're blamed for it. We want teachers to become involved in this. We want you to phone bank. We want you to canvass. Just as Mike said, this is an old-fashioned political campaign that we're about to unleash. We want you to help with leafleting, speaking, tabling, giving money, whatever it is that's going to bring this to fruition this year. That's what we want you to be part of. 2015-15. We're not talking about a lot of studies. We're not talking about a lot of waiting for things to unfold, or the right time, or it's not an election cycle, or whatever it is that might be the argument. Now's the time. Where now is the time. That's what we're saying right here. The last thing I want to mention is that there will be an action at the airport, continuing actions that we've managed to pull off successfully with SEIU Local 26, machinists, organizers, etc. Tuesday, February 17th, there'll be leaflets around for this. 2:30 p.m., meet at the light rail station, because the cops refused to give us a permit. Light rail station, MSP Terminal 1, dress warm, because we're going to be going outside a little bit, and we'll have another adventure. So I hope you'll all join with that, and with that, thank you very much.